in association with LA Cal Formación, tailor-made solutions for your business. And I'm here to bring you the English Business Hour, and what we're going to focus on today is helping you improve on your pronunciation, your vocabulary, and in particular, I'm going to be looking at the STAR method for interview questions. So I'm also going to look at phrasal verbs, and in a sense, I'm going to try in one quick lesson to help you understand how you can use phrasal verbs. They are very tricky for people, and I completely understand. And I'm going to try very quickly to help you with phrasal verbs and give you that trick so that you can start using them in your English. If you're at that level, you can always use something else. And what else am I going to do? I'm going to be looking at vocabulary and pronunciation by going through some news of the day. So I'm going to quickly go in, and as I said, I'm going to talk to you guys about phrasal verbs and maybe a trick that you can use to start using them. Let me come across now, and I'm going to go over here just to make sure I am on that page. Now, so we take a typical phrasal verb here. As you can see, the first one we have is to break down. To break down, this means to divide something into smaller parts or components, usually to make it easier to understand or to manage. Okay, to break down. As I said, you can always use something easier. You can always revert back to, in this case, to break down could be to explain. So to break down, I'll give you an example. I need to break down, I'm going to make it bigger for you as well. Let me come over here, and our example here, if I just make it a bit bigger. Okay, I need to break down this complex project into smaller tasks. Okay, fantastic. I need to break down this complex project into smaller tasks. So let's just focus on the verb to break down. Phrasal verbs, essentially, I think what a lot of people do is you're trying to make sense of to break down, and you end up coming to the conclusion of it doesn't make sense. And you're right, it doesn't make sense. It's like an expression. Phrasal verbs are like expressions that you just need to know, oh, I can use this expression in this situation. Once you understand that, that's the first step. The second step now is we're going to highlight the verb to break down. And in a sense, excuse me, I'm clearing my throat here. Right, to break down. I have it highlighted here in purple. Excuse me. So all we're going to do is change the first word of the verb, and we're going to see how it behaves in a normal sense. Is it a normal verb? Well, is it regular, normal, and irregular, not normal? So to break, let's just take it from, if it was a normal verb, it would be break, and in the past it would be braked with ed at the ending. However, it is not normal, it's irregular, and in the past is I broke my pen. I broke the window. Okay, so it's irregular. And all we're going to do is change this like a normal verb. Okay, we understand now what it means, and all we're going to do is change it like a normal verb. So, take the example. I need to break down this complex project into smaller tasks. And let's put it into the sense of yesterday. I need, so if we just start with the phrasal verb, because the second one is always in here the first verb is I need. Okay, that's the one that will change. But we're going to start with this one, which is the first verb, and we're going to change here. And I would say, I broke down this complex project into smaller tasks. All we're doing, as I said, is just changing the first one. I broke down. Now, I'm not going to complicate things by explaining how you can put this word at the front and that word. We're just going to keep it simple, okay? Changing the first word is all you need to do. And if I am explaining something to you, to break it down, to make it easier, bit by bit to understand, I will say, I was talking to Liam earlier on and I broke down the complex project into smaller tasks. I broke down. She broke down. They broke down. Okay, it just behaves like a normal verb. Let's go and have a look at another one. I'm going to make this smaller now. And we're going to focus on the next one. And again, we're going to try and make it behave as I was explaining, okay? And this one is to carry out. What does that mean? To carry out is to complete or perform a task or an activity, usually according to a plan or procedure. It means to do, okay? I'll make it easier. It's to do something, okay? We need to carry out a market research study to better understand our customers. I could say we need to do a market research study to better understand our customers. There's always a way that you can avoid phrasal verbs, but you perhaps are at a level now that you can take it. So let's go. We're going to behave like we said before. Carry. Go here and carry. What type of verb is carry? Well, it is a normal verb. It's regular. Carry, carried in the past. So we're going to just change carried and say, here we'll start over here and talk about she. She carried out a market research study to better understand her customers. She carried. Behaves like a normal verb. We don't care about the word out. That will stay the same, never changing. Carry will change. That's all we're saying. Okay. We need to carry out a market research study to better understand our customers. Okay. We've learned carry out is the expression. And now we just treat it like a normal verb. And of course, in the future, it won't even change at all. I will carry out. You will carry out. We're going to carry out. So nothing's going to change. The only thing really that's complicated or that you need to worry about really is the past tense. So is it a normal verb or not normal, irregular, regular? And there you go. I hope this is making sense to you. And I hope it's not putting you off. Let's have a look at the next one. I'm going to make this bigger. Right, we're in purple here. To figure out. This is used very commonly. If I make this smaller, we'll just turn that into the body, okay. What we're focusing on here is to figure out. This means to solve a problem or understand something that is unclear or confusing. Example, I need to figure out why our sales have been declining. I need to understand why our sales are declining. I need to find a way to understand how. So figure out is very commonly used in English. Use it all the time. But of course, it doesn't make sense. It's just strange words. Why are you using these stupid words? That's the way it is. And accept it. When you accept it, you can focus on the important thing, which is using it, okay? Because it's what the natives use more commonly than understand. We will use figure out more commonly. So, normal verb, not normal verb. Well, this is perfectly normal. In the past it will be I figured out. Oh, sorry. I'm going to turn off my phone here. Right, that's turned off. So, to figure out, this means to solve a problem or understand something that is unclear or confusing. I need to figure out why our sales have been declining. Okay, and if I'm successful, I will say, I figured out. It is a normal verb. So, I figured out that why our sales have been declining. She figured out, he figured out, they figured out. I'm going to figure out. I will figure out. Okay, so we're just changing figure in this and it's perfectly normal verb, figured out, ed at the ending. Okay, the next one as we carry on. All of these have a number 1 beside them. I don't know why. Anyway, it doesn't make any difference. I hope this is helping you. Just remember, we're only changing if you want to say the middle word of the verb, because all verbs begin with to, don't they? So we're just changing the middle word. Let's go on to the next. I'm going to make this smaller and try and move on as quickly as I can here. Okay, let's hurry up. Let's move on. Heading. Okay, to put off. To put off. I hope you guys can just double check that you can see. Yeah, you can see this indeed. Okay, to put off means to delay or postpone something, usually to a later time or date, very commonly like a meeting. So I had to put off my vacation because of my work emergency. To put, very super simple, this one. It doesn't change at all. Every day I put my phone on the table beside me in the present tense, or a routine, present tense. And yesterday I put. Okay, it doesn't change. I will put, you put, so never changes. All you need to do here is remember that put off means to delay or postpone. Very commonly such would be a meeting, for example. Meetings get put off all the time. It means postponed, not cancelled, just delayed. So learn what it means and then how to treat it by only changing the middle word if necessary. Okay, here we don't have to. And finally, we're moving on to take on. We're going up to this, and this is the bottom one. Let me do this. Okay, to take on means to accept or assume responsibility for a task, project, or role. Example, I will take on the challenge of leading this new project. I will take on more work than I'm able to. So to take on, again, it means to accept or assume responsibility for something when you take something on. Take on a challenge, take on a role, take on work. Okay, that's what it means. We understand what it means now, and now we're going to see if it behaves like a normal verb or not. Does it? So take. My phone. I took my phone from the table. Okay, or I took my phone off. So that's in the past. I've done it now. It's finished. I took. T-O-O-K. It's irregular. So let's change this example. I took on the challenge of leading this new project. Okay, I hope it makes it more clear for you. I know a lot of you are doing great with your English, and you find phrasal verbs very frustrating. Once, I suppose, we break it down into, breakdown. If we break down phrasal verbs into smaller parts, hopefully you can begin to understand. So quickly going through again to break down, I broke down phrasal verbs for you into meaningful parts. I broke down phrasal verbs for you. She carried out a market research. She carried out some market research. She carried out, that's regular. They put off the meeting, and we took on a lot of responsibility. Only changing the middle word. That's all you need to do. Of course, you might have questions like, yeah, but James, can't you? Don't worry about that for the moment. Just if you're having trouble, little steps at a time, okay? Because otherwise you might say, but it doesn't take on all these phrasal verbs probably have different contexts. So it depends what context we use, and it could be put off, and then and then we start confusing ourselves. Let's talk about just one context at a time, and it will still behave the same. Once it's a phrasal verb, you talk about context, but what you're going to do, changing that middle word, that's going to behave exactly the same. Okay, I hope that helps. And of course, we'll revisit it again because we love phrasal verbs. I love them. And we don't even know we're using them because we use them like figures of speech, like It's just the way we speak. They're expressions for us. Most English speaking people have no idea that they are indeed even verbs. Okay, they think that they are just writing expressions. Okay, we don't analyze the language. And okay, fantastic. Let's move on. And in the next part here, what I wanted to do is I want to look at interviews. And in this particular situation, I want to look at the STAR method, which we can use for behavioral questions in interviews. In summary, the STAR method is a structured approach to answering behavioral interview questions. So it involves describing a specific situation, task, action, and result to demonstrate your problem-solving skills, communication abilities, and how you've handled challenging situations in the past. So it's really how you you faced and behaved when you were faced with a difficult or challenging situation in the past. These are going to come up in your interviews, and if you followed the structured STAR approach, makes it a lot easier for you. When I'm teaching students, for example, in universities, how to approach essay questions, we'll teach them a structured approach, and that way they can use that approach for different questions. So, where's your favorite place to go on the weekends, or where do you like to go to have some peace and quiet? Well, you can use exactly the same place. So, we can translate this into your interview questions, where describe we're going to look at it now. We're going to look at a specific situation, but it can be used, this approach used for any of the behavioral questions. So it's situation, task, action, result. Try and make your stories, and let's jump in and have a look at an example question. Our example question here is, tell me about a time when you had to deal with a difficult team member. This is going to be a very typical approach, and it could be the question could be, tell me about a time when you faced a challenging situation and how you overcame it. In this situation, we can use exactly the same example, but just changing it to using the STAR method to approach it. Let's go in and have a look at the situation. The situation here is, in my previous job, S for STAR. In my previous job, I was part of a project team responsible for delivering a new software application within a tight deadline. One of my team members, let's call him John, was consistently missing his deadlines. Deadlines are the times that you need to finish work by, and not delivering the work up to the expected standard. Okay, that's the situation. Somebody is not meeting deadlines and the standard of work is slipping, it's falling, it's not up. So that's the S. That's the situation, that's the problem. Moving on now to the task. As project leader, I needed to address the situation to ensure the project would stay on track and be completed within the deadline. That is your task. As a project leader, I needed to address the situation and ensure the project would stay on track and be completed within the deadline. Action will be next. First, I approached John to discuss his workload. This is how much work he has, and try to understand why he was not meeting his deadlines. I discovered that he was struggling. This is mean having difficulty, struggling with some personal issues, and had taken on, phrasal verb, to take on, and had taken on, so in this case, past participle, had taken on more work than he could handle. I asked him if there was any way I could help him prioritize his tasks, or if there was anyone else on the team who could take on some of his workload. We then created a plan to help him catch up on his work and set up regular check-ins to monitor his progress. Okay, typical action here, and it will help you like, whoa, action, what did I do? what were the steps we took with John. I approached John. I wanted to know why. And then I said, what can we do to help you? And as you can see, we have the phrasal verb to take on. That was not on purpose. I didn't do that on purpose. It's just a coincidence. But as you know, when you start learning things in English or in another language, then you keep seeing it all the time. And very quickly, we see take on. Okay, behaves exactly the like a normal verb. Okay, so that's the action and then our result. The plan worked well and John was able to catch up on his work within the deadline. He also appreciated my approach and felt supported by me as a leader, which helped improve his overall performance and attitude towards the project. As a team, we were able to deliver the software application on time with high quality. So there you are. If you can follow the STAR method, it's very, very useful. It gives you a nice story to tell. And I think when you're in an interview situation, it's kind of like when you do an interview in a language test, you're asked a question and you want to keep talking and giving information until you're stopped. What they want is, here's the question, you talk until I interrupt you. And this gives you a nice way to do that by following the STAR approach. Gives you a nice way to tell stories. Pretty much for most behavioral interview questions, they want to see how you handle challenging situations. So you give them the story. Of course, you want that story to be from a real situation. But it's not really good enough to have a situation where you might not really have an answer. So you want to make sure you do have an answer or bring the situation to something similar and answering like this using the STAR approach. Very useful. And you know, of course, it will enable you to highlight your behavior and how you behave in those challenging situations, because that's what they want. That's what they want, people to be able to do that. Okay, hope that helps. Go back and look at the video and the examples if you want. And we'll be looking at different interview questions anyway in the future, and we'll revisit this situation. Okay, moving across over to some of the news for the last few minutes. Make sure that you guys can see it. Okay, you can. I'm clearing my throat. A Chinese billionaire arrested in New York. Okay, so a Chinese billionaire has been arrested in New York. Okay, exiled billionaire. There's no way I'm going to pronounce this right. Guo Wengui. And I always say, forgive me for my pronunciation. A declared opponent of the Chinese government was arrested Wednesday morning in New York, accused in particular, which means in particular means especially, like ice cream, in particular vanilla, especially vanilla, of having cheated several thousand of his subscribers on social networks, writes the New York Times. The amount of fraud would amount to more than $1 billion, according to the authorities. Guo Wengui, close to the sulfurous Steve Bannon, is accused of having taken advantage, in this case, to take advantage of someone is to use an opportunity. To take advantage, but sometimes maliciously, in a bad way. Taking advantage of his notoriety, which means his fame, on the internet to encourage thousands of people to invest funds in his companies or projects. The 52-year-old investor pleaded guilty, said, "I am guilty," in the court, and was taken into custody. He was already being tracked in China for financial fraud. Okay. To be tracked is to be followed. Disappearance of 2.5 tons of uranium in Libya. Remember, when we talk about numbers, this dot is point. When we go up to an internet address, it will be called dot. Right? And at the end of the sentence, it's called period in the United States, and full stop. So how many years have you been learning English and you didn't know that this dot at the end is not called dot? It's in fact called full stop in the UK, or period in the United States. Only since the birth really of the internet do we call the dot in the address .com, for example. So 3 or 4 different names. You have to learn them, unfortunately. Let's go. No less than 2.5 tons of natural uranium have disappeared from a storage site in Libya. The International Atomic Energy Agency, the IAEA, very tricky for learners because of this vowels, A-E-I-O-U. This is the IAEA, announced on Wednesday, according to CNN, 10 previously declared casks, a cask is like a barrel, were missing during an inspection conducted. To conduct means to do. On March 14, the IAEA said it was going to carry out. You see, look, we're seeing them now, look. The IAEA said it was going to carry out, okay, in the future. The only thing we change is carry, and it's the future, so we don't need to change it. Additional verifications to clarify the circumstances of the disappearance of this nuclear material and its current location. Current means right now, at the moment. Libya abandoned its nuclear weapons development program in 2003. That's not good news. Uranium going missing. Bolsonaro ordered to return Saudi jewellery. In a unanimous decision taken on Wednesday, unanimous means everybody agreed, the Brazilian Court of Auditors ordered the former president Jair Bolsonaro to return within 5 days the jewels offered to the Brazilian state by the Saudi government, as well as the weapons offered by the United Arab Emirates to the authorities. I think if Saudi Arabia is giving you jewellery, they want something in return. I don't know. It's a bit strange. The place of these jewels is in the collection of the presidency, insisted the court. The jewellery has also entered Brazilian territory without the knowledge of customs. Faced with the scandal, the Court of Auditors called for the opening of an investigation into all gifts offered by foreign countries under the Bolsonaro presidency. Okay, so the ex-president was given a gift of jewellery by the Saudi government. Okay, I mean, why don't they give me jewellery? That's what I want to know. I'll accept the jewellery. Anyway, that's all for today. I hope this helped. As you can see, once you start using these phrasal verbs, you'll start seeing them everywhere. And just remember, it's just as easy as that to start going. Just change the middle word. It behaves like a normal verb. I hope this helps. And I hope to see you guys next week again. Until then, have a great week and weekend, and all the best.